people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world.
The animals are winding me up.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Do not ask for your poor or your hungry.
We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Welcome to the edge of the falls. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. I'm Brett Byro, a.k.a. The Madman, and we got a show for you tonight.
All right, I'm Peter Green, a.k.a. The Mystic, and it is a good show tonight. We're looking forward to it because together we are
The Edge of the Falls. Hey, Peter, I'm sounding kind of really flat.
Are you? Well,
Yeah.
try a push-up bra. Hang on a second here. I got to go give you a little boost.
How we sounding out there? Bear with us here 1 minute, guys. What's up, Kim? What's up, Tim? What's up, Danny, Jason, Chris, and Tony? Much for asking. I had some dental work done, and it, of course, there's nothing worse. I don't know about you guys than going to the dentist and having a toothache, and then they were in there, they're doing some work. Oh my God, the pain, from your teeth, it's kind of like, I guess sympathy pain when someone is pregnant. You know what I mean? Where they, they say the father has the pains for the girl. Well, the teeth in your mouth have sympathy pain for the other teeth, if that makes sense. That, and I'm not a day over 39 again, so 39 again.
That's bad news.
Yeah, trying to OBGYN,
Yeah, you need a new one, don't you? So let's see how things are here. We're live on Facebook. Let me see. There's a little problem with YouTube not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming.
Hey,
that
hey,
sucks.
Peter, hang on 1 minute. Hey, you guys, do us a favor.
Yes.
And share the video. Invite your friends to like our page. And what else? I don't know about you guys, but I think me and Peter have decided that maybe we are going to demand the truth from everybody. You know why?
Yeah.
Because you people deserve it. No matter how you say it, how people spin shit, what we don't do, we don't lie here. It's anything that we talk about, me and the Mystic, is usually spot on. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not, but pay attention because if you watch, a lot of bandwagon jumpers are jumping on our shit now and saying,
geez, yeah.
Check it out, the Edge of the Falls. Oh, they were right about that. Oh, they were right about this. And look, that Madman guy, he may be an asshole, but shit, he spews the truth.
Hey, don't take away my job. I call you an asshole. No, that's true, though. It seems like people really want to... there's a lot of passengers out there. We've been finding that out lately. People who are like, oh, I want to be part of your show because, and it's not just our show, because, oh, Lord, I mean, I can do so much for you. And really all they are is people that tag along and bring nothing to it.
And I have nothing against that, Peter. I have nothing against people that, want to interject something that is honest and truthful, going along with what I say or what we say. But if you have something that is so far off the wall that you believe it, you're one of those people that I talk of.
Of course. Carly Lapp says you can't handle the truth.
yes. Terry Lasher-Klein, check it out. I got a seat for you right here. Anytime you want to come on the show,
yes,
we would love to have you. And you're damn right that I don't know anything about childbirth. Peter, did it hurt when you had babies?
No, not at all. And then I flushed.
I seen a meme. And, I got to go there. Where it said Joe Biden, he smells kids, and Kamala, she swallows them.
Oh, it's time for the Kamala jokes. What does it say here? Kim D'Angelo said there was a no-show yesterday. With Noel and Courtney. Yeah, Courtney was at a wedding, and, it's been tough on Noel, I think, the last few weeks, especially if she's got no one there with her. And I was playing somewhere, so we couldn't really get it on early enough. So our apologies. They'll be back. And Chris Sporton says, go crazy. We're already there, brother.
Yeah, no shit. Kamala, yes, that's her, whatever her name is.
We gotta get Carly Lapp on this show.
Yes, we gotta get her on the show.
She's awesome.
She would fit right in with us. You can tell that.
Oh man! Oh, there's a good one. You can't handle the tooth. Ed Miller time.
That is good.
That is a good one. So we're killing a little time here before we give a call to our new friend. But we're looking forward to talking to Frank Parlato, publisher of the Niagara Reporter, and we know that there's been a lot going on lately because of their involvement in the matter of Nick D'Angelo and, of course, Noel and others. So we're going to have an opportunity to talk with Frank tonight.
Peter,
we
you
want
talk
to keep
for
it
a couple
civil.
minutes. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to add some friends.
Bathing. Yeah, but it's a good opportunity, and we're going to be tying up the phone so you can't call in, and we weren't intending that. Frank is possibly coming on next Monday, and then we could take calls, and that would be absolutely fine. We'd love to have you call in, chat with him, but we're going to keep it civil because I know some people are very passionate.
We're going to keep it civil?
Civil, not Sybil. It sounds like a horror movie. Oh, and Carly Lapp is already putting up her... She says Brett would lose his role if I came on. You're a madman, Carly. And Jason Marsh is pointing out, Brett, try being nice.
I try, Jason. You know that. It's kind of like telling a shark not to bite humans in the water.
No, we got great people out there tonight, too. Hopefully you're all having a great week. One thing I wanted to talk about was this weekend there was another shooting at the Red House on Highland. Last week, if you remember, we talked about the fact that the peacemakers were out there with a number of local citizens who were protesting that the residents there, the owners, host these pretty wild parties. And apparently a gentleman was sitting in his car doing nothing, and someone came up and shot him. So that's a pretty bizarre circumstance around any party. I mean, I've never seen, I've never seen so many things happening in a place like is happening there at the Red House. But how do we stop that?
You know what? How do you fucking stop it? Park a cop out there for a little while. Jesus, I don't know. Well, I guess that's not even safe anymore. Don't get me started.
Nope.
Carly Lapp, the mad woman. Hell yeah. Anyways, that Red House, it's known, that there are wild parties. People get shot, stabbed, whatever. It's not just one time. It's a couple of times. Where are we, how can I say this? Where are the people, in that vicinity? Why aren't they shutting that shit down?
They were trying. Those neighbors were out there. That's why I mentioned
what, 5 fucking people showed up, Peter?
Hey, I'll take 5 anytime because that's locals. A lot of people are afraid to show up. Maybe you're right.
Like, maybe you're onto something. I think maybe that people are probably scared. What the hell? They're shooting at each other. So take some people that are armed.
Yeah, there you go. Or I offered to go and give out milk and cookies and play Kumbaya for them. Yeah. I think that would really add to the environment, the atmosphere out there on the sidewalk. Maybe people would stay away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I just I'm kind of surprised, that the police are letting it go, this long without, in there and busting everybody that's in that fucking house.
It's pretty sad, and you're seeing so many shootings. I mean, you see them in Buffalo, you see them here, and what do the police do, though? What honestly, can they do that? Can they simply stop you from hosting parties in your house?
I don't know. They sure could put a damper on shit, Peter, just by being there.
Actually, that's true.
I think, I don't know. Again, I kind of, sometimes I feel like, maybe don't bite your tongue, Brett. And don't say that, Brett, because you know better. But Jesus Christ, get some fucking people out there that care about all this other shit that's going on to stop people from getting shot, stabbed, and poisoning the youth in that society, in that general vicinity. Come on, guys, it doesn't take a brain surgeon. Let's. if we go and do it, and when I say we, I don't mean it to be racist, but unfortunately now everything is fucking racist. And no matter what you do, what you say, how people
Right.
take it, he's being racist. I'm not being racist. I'm being honest. Get some people down there that care. Other than kneeling, other than the police shooting everybody, guess what? Maybe the police need to go down there and shoot a couple people.
Hey, I have a thought on that. It just came to mind that, those big lights they put up on construction sites, like the overnight construction, they have these massive lights that beam down on they're like aircraft landing lights. Why doesn't the city put one at either end?
Construction lights or something. Yeah, I know
and just beam it all over the place and put it in broad daylight and see how they feel about that.
Or why don't we get a couple cops down the road that just pull over every vehicle that leaves there? Every fucking vehicle, pull them all over. So, guess what? I bet you there's going to be some drugs or some guns or somebody with some sort of want or warrant. Unfortunately, guess what's going to happen? Here's an appearance ticket for you. Go out and do the same fucking thing over and over again. Excuse my language. No, don't excuse my language. You guys should be used to it already.
We've already warned them.
I don't.
No, you're right. But I always think that if they could do something extreme, like beaming lights up right in front of the house. I mean, they say they have every right to host the parties. Great. Our city has every right to put, there you go, Kenny Tompkins and Bill Kennedy, everybody out there. Why doesn't the city set up these lights, and when there's a party, they get switched on? You can have a cop there to make sure nobody shoots out the lights. That way you can catch the guy or woman or whatever. But if you throw light on what they're doing like that, you make it a very uncomfortable environment. I think you might it's like rain. You'd put a damper on it.
You know damn well they will put a damper on it. Even in my wild and crazy days, we didn't want to be around where we knew there was a chance that the police were going to be involved. Are you with me?
Yep.
Unfortunately, nowadays, Peter, people don't care.
They hide inside their houses.
Right, they're not scared of the police anymore.
No, and they also don't want to help the police, which is kind of sucky. I mean, I heard that from one of the guests on another show. It said, people in some neighborhoods, they have the Ring cameras. They help the police when something happens. And in other neighborhoods, like here, as soon as something happens, they all hide inside their houses until the police are gone. And you get no help for them.
You know what, that happens everywhere. Even the people that say they care and they want to do this and they want to do that, except when it comes time to go and actually do something.
That's right.
We've seen that already. When you try and do something for the community that's good for the community,
right.
Nobody wants to show up.
Well, put it this way then, since you made a point about this a minute ago. If 5 people showed up to that protest, or 8 people, whatever number of residents showed up, where were the rest of you? Where were the rest of the residents who were affected by that? Why weren't they out there? The peacemakers were there. You had a semblance of the group that would at least step in the gap and protect you. But why don't people come out and show force when things like this happen? Because we're just letting people get away with it, and people are being shot. And I think the entire community is intimidated.
Would you say that it has become the norm for people to say, "Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah,
that's normal around here."
Someone today was in the studio working, and I think it was Jeff Flack was in, and the 7-Elevens are getting robbed, or shops are getting robbed. People are getting shot. People who die, and it's like, well, that's normal. That's Niagara Falls. By the way, you might want to make a dial there. It's time to get our friend on the phone. So, yeah, people think it's normal, and we're kind of shrugging our shoulders and saying, well, that's just Niagara Falls, man. It should not be.
Well, again, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and I don't have all the proper things to say all the time, but I just know that there's more to be done for that red house.
Yeah.
They know this is a problem. The people know it's a problem. Do something. Fucking do something.
That's your community. All right, we're going to teach Brett how to dial his phone. Actually, we don't dial phones anymore, do we? We just hit the name of the person we're calling.
Yeah, or I say, call Peter Green.
And the IRS does. There you go. Well, we got a great crew out there tonight. Noelle is there. I see Chris Fortin. And, of course, Terry Lasher-Klein is with us. Always glad to have her there. Carly Lapp. You really are part of the show now. We got to come on. So we're just waiting for Frank here. One ringy dingy.
Hello.
Hello, we'd like to order a large pizza with pepperoni cheese and those hairy ass anchovies.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, greetings.
Greetings. Thank you for taking time to be with us tonight, Frank. It's Peter, of course, on the line, the Mystic, and Brett, known as the Madman.
How the hell are you?
Good, Brett. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, good. Thank you,
inviting
Frank. And it's funny that me and Peter were talking a little bit before we about the show and about you and what we're going to ask and how we're going to present things. And I was like, fuck it, let's if me and Frank knew each other, we'd be buddies.
He actually said that.
Yeah, we'd be buddies. And Peter was like, well, I kind of like him too. So there you go. Let's start it off, with this way. We right before we got the call, Frank. Hang on, tell everybody who you are, what you do, what's going on. I want to talk about Nexium a little bit and how you shut that shit down. Kudos to you.
Thank you very much. Well, locally here I have a newspaper, the Niagara Falls Reporter, and I think you guys have heard of it. Have you?
yeah, of course. We've heard it just a little bit.
But 68 times a day.
And I also I do investigative reporting, and I recently produced a 2-hour film on investigation discovery called "The Lost Women of Nexium," and I'm going to do a couple more films with them. I appeared last night on a HBO special called "The Vow." Much of this was in connection, Brett, with the work I did to expose a fairly notorious sex cult, and when the leaders went to prison.
That's awesome. You need a huge pat on the back for
yes.
that. I feel that's why. So me and Peter were talking earlier, and I told him how can you take that position with the investigative reporting and do all this stuff, and we'll get to this, and you'll see the meaning on this in a minute, against rapists, pedophiles, sex cults, sexual predators, et cetera, and I think that alone makes me like you, even more. Me too. I have, I grew up in Belden Center, a little bad place in the town of Niagara, and I'm sure you've heard of it.
You made it bad.
but anyways, every time someone, a child molester or anything, would try to move into Belden Center, the people, of course, were up in arms. And as soon as we found out about it, they were like, "Oh, we got to get them out." So me, my brothers, and my friends would go, and guess what? We made the paper a couple times. Biro Brothers make child molester move Belden Center. And then there's a park right across the street, the old Nevada Avenue School. And at that Nevada Avenue School, there was a basketball court and a playground, and kids hang out over there. And a guy went over there, and he whipped his penis out in front of the kids that were over there, and tried to get one of the little girls to touch her or to touch him. And we seen everybody come running out of there, and the dude went running. My dog tried to get him, and we didn't know exactly what was happening. I see this little girl come, she's bawling, Frank. And I was asking her, what's going on? Why are you crying? And she's walking straight up the street to her house. As soon as we got to her house, they were like, oh, my God, someone go catch that guy. So me and another guy by the name of Wild Bill, go figure, we jumped in my car. We chased him down on Hyde Park Bridge and held him until the cops got there and caught the dude. So anyways, to make a long story short, again, cheers to you for what you're doing. And that all those, they're scumbags, Frank, and you know that. Especially when I hear about the branding and shit that was going on or whatever.
Well, Brett, I think that if every neighborhood had the Biro Brothers, this country would have a far lower crime rate.
You know what, Frank? That's the truth. And even though we were fighters and they're the bad boys and they're racist and blah blah blah. I'm sure you've heard it all, or everybody that's listening has heard it. One thing we didn't do was allow people to beat up women, allowed child molesters, rapists, all that stuff. And it's not even, that it's like a prison mentality, because believe it or not, I've never been to prison, but I know, that they don't play that game in there. That someone that abuses women in any form or kids, is not liked. They don't take kindly to that shit. Now, Todd told me when he was even in, little old Niagara County, when someone would come in, and this is back in the day, the police would let them go and beat the shit out of that dude.
Deservedly so.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Sadly, it's one of those to see anything like that happen, but it is one of those times where that form of justice really needs to be there as a deterrent,
Over and over.
Yep. So, Frank, I want to share a couple of things with you here. We do pipe in with the comments that come up on Facebook. And Jeffrey Johnson says, as a native from Niagara Falls living in L.A., I love, and love is capitalized, the Niagara Falls Reporter. And I'll bet you he remembers, and, I've been really on to the fact that the paper had this wonderful legacy under your guidance and the way you would do investigative reporting. So it's just nice to see that type of comment coming through.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that very much.
I think even me and my brother Todd had made the Reporter back in the day. Yes.
I don't even want to hazard a guess, but Brett, Frank, would you mind if we offer you a couple of questions?
Of course. Go ahead.
All right. So Brett, I'm going to ask you to do the first question, but before you do, just to remind everyone that Frank, as the publisher of the Niagara Reporter, has been conducting an investigative piece. Now, if you go to his website, The Frank Report, I think you'll be genuinely impressed by the work that he has done over the years in investigating things like NXIVM that are legitimately harmful to society, to women, to people, to children. So, Frank, we know that you are an investigative reporter and that you undertook to do an investigative piece on Nick D'Angelo, who was working with you. So our questions arise from this. And Brett, you
of
can
course,
fire
and
the
I
first
hate
one.
Peter, Nick, or Frank. First, let me explain to you that number one, I'm not a Frank Parlato hater, at all, and I look forward to going out and have a beer with you sometime and shooting the shit. Secondly, that no matter how everybody spins this stuff, and even us too, with the Reporter, I guess it's hard for you, to be in your position as us also, where no matter what we say, it's spun, one way or another to make people think, this is what he means or this is what he means without getting to the truth. What I liked about you commenting on all of our posts was that all I want is some facts, get to the truth, and I want to, make me understand why you guys are saying this.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get to that point, I hope, and I've seen a couple other, chats from you where, maybe even you are starting to understand a little bit about where we're going with this. But first, did you just today, Frank, offer Noelle money to shut up, to drop this?
No, I certainly did not offer her money. I don't have any money to offer her. I would never. The only thing I would like to see happen, and I mean this sincerely, I would like to see, Brett, a solution that's good for everybody. I think we're looking for a couple of things: justice, and we're looking for the truth. And if it's true, if Noelle's allegations are true, I think it would be good if she gets a settlement. If they're not true, then she's not entitled to anything. And I don't know what the truth is. Do you? You guys know?
You know what? If you're asking us back a question, if we know what the truth is, I guess I am, going by just like you, with the investigative reporting. You know that we broke this story, and that I was talking about, and just to give you a little bit of insight on how this went down. We were kind of making fun of the Reporter a little bit, and Nick D'Angelo was, constantly, I guess pandering for attention, even in the Reporter, and just looking for attention any way he can get it, and doing this and doing that. And so he sent me a message and saying, Brett, I don't know who you guys think you are, but my reach is way farther than yours, and I don't think you want to play this game. So I sent him back a message saying, hey, Nick, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'll punch you in the mouth. Guess what? He didn't send me any more messages after that. But and then, once that came out and we started talking about the Reporter, this and that, all of a sudden a girl reaches out to me and says, hey, I have some information I think, that is going to be quite damning, with Nick D'Angelo. Of course, it was Noelle. Me being, who I am, loud, cocky, and confident, I was like, oh, Noelle, why don't you come on the show? Let's talk about this. And then, the ball just started rolling, Frank. So then, more and more text messages and emails and everything. I have to say this, Frank, and I know Nick is your friend. Nick is a lawyer. Why the hell would he send text messages to people that are going to be used? Well, he probably didn't think that they were going to be used over and over again, trying to solicit some form of sex, talking about, and I've seen this, Frank, I've seen the text, better representation, come to my room, and help, I'll show you, so, Frank, no lie, 300 different text messages from a bunch of different girls. Now, I want to ask you this. If the insinuation is there, and I know he's your friend, how can you even, not in the back of your head think, what the fuck is going on? And, is this guy, you've been around him. You know it. Just by the 10 minutes that you're around him, Frank, there's just that uneasy feeling that this guy could be a snake. You've been there. You've seen other people that act like that. Am I wrong? Go ahead.
Well, that's a very good point. Let me try to address those questions, if I may, in order. Firstly, if it's true, and the law is very clear, if it's true that an attorney is communicating with clients, soliciting sex, that is generally unethical and could be such that a lawyer could be disbarred if there's a pattern of it. There's not an absolute prohibition, Brett, of an attorney having sex with a consenting adult. However, if they use their position to encourage or manipulate a client, that is a strict prohibition. And if it's true, and I haven't seen all the texts you're referring to, but if that's true, that's a deeply disturbing pattern of behavior. So I think that we need to see that, and maybe we're not the final arbiters. This may be a matter for either the grievance committee or possibly a court of law, depending on where this case goes. And
I agree with you. I do, on that scenario. And I'm not trying to be the judge, jury, and executioner. As a matter of fact, once the legal aspect got into it, if you notice, I kind of I dropped off on the whole. Okay, I'm done now. I did my job. Let's let the law play it out now and see what happens. Let me tell you this, Frank, and I'm not lying, that I talked to him on the phone when we brought Noel on the show, all of a sudden things kind of turned a little bit, and then he called my brother Todd, and then, Todd called me and said, Nick D'Angelo wants to talk to you. So I of course I called Nick, and then he called me back. We exchanged a couple of calls, and he asked me, Frank, again, I have no reason to ask. Will she take $1,000 to shut up? And then, I said, I don't know if she's going to take $1,000 to shut up. And that time I didn't think anything of it, except that, when I started asking him questions, he said to me, I'm not going to be interviewed by you, Brett. And so when, those two things happened, it just kind of threw me for a loop, and I'm thinking, this guy, he's guilty. He's guilty. Why would he offer her $1,000 to shut up? And why would he not want to talk to me about it? Why has he not come on the show? And I guess it's understandable why he wouldn't come on the show. He didn't want to embarrass himself. He's a lawyer. He didn't want to add more fuel to the fire, blah, blah, blah. But this could have easily, maybe not easily, Frank, just, again, hear me out on this. He could have, put a little water on the fire by saying, hey, I'm sorry. This isn't true. Not once has he said anything to us. Never.
Right. Well, I think it's always better when dealing with people who are sincerely trying to get at the truth, which I think you guys are. I think you squarely fit into the category of looking for the truth. And I don't think that you have an agenda. I think it's always better to talk it out.
I do.
Communicate.
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, yeah, Frank, I have a question for you, and it does tie in. I mean, first of all, people know that we poke fun at things. It's part of our our modus operandi, if you will. I'm going to show a video at the end of this interview And if anyone wants to stay tuned and watch it, then in it, it's an excerpt from last night's program. And in that program, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in your own words, you say that you put together false stories. You put together, and that's not. I'm not accusing you of that, like that you with him, but you put together. You used false stories. You used photoshopped images that ridiculed. We're talking about Keith Raniere. And your answer to Ellie, your interviewer, was sometimes that's necessary. So one of the questions we have is that if you feel that you're justified to write a false story in order to achieve an end, how do we know that that isn't the intention behind you right now with what you're writing in The Reporter?
It's an excellent question, but what I think you have to understand is that I always label stories. I didn't say they were false. I labeled them as fiction. And I was referring to a series of stories that I wrote, that including The Night of the Vanguard. And I clearly labeled them as fiction. When I write a story that's meant to be an investigative piece, I never prevaricate. I only publish what I know to be true. If I'm writing a fictional story that's lampooning or mocking somebody out, I label it as such.
Okay, and sorry, Brett, I just want to say that was sadly lacking from the way it was presented in the article, was that it says they even re-emphasize your own words in it, and so to the average listener, we don't know that. We see you saying that sometimes it's necessary to fabricate articles, so it creates, and that's understandable, and that's why I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, I'm happy with that answer, and I'm happy that we're talking to you. One other thing that keeps coming across our messages, Frank, is are you guys that not that intelligent that you don't realize that Frank is trying to get information from you to give to Nick, blah blah blah. I really I don't think that you're doing that, and I don't think to you that we haven't already told everybody already. Let me ask you this, what is your Frank, I am 52 years old, and I've been around the block a little bit, and there's a bunch of people that if they lied, I would swear to it because they are my friends. Why Nick D'Angelo for you? Why what is your what's your, I guess you're in with Nick D'Angelo. Why do you care so much about what's going on with him?
Well, that's a beautiful question. I think it's a fair question. I have talked to Nick. Originally, he came to me to work with me on The Reporter. And he came at an opportune time because the previous mainstay had passed away. I don't know if you recall Mike Hudson.
Mike Hudson,
of course. Me and Frank Croisdale are pretty good friends, just letting you know that. So,
another great writer. Mike passed away, and, it was a big loss for me. And he would write 6 stories a week. And a great writer. Anyway, Nick came. He said, look, well, let me help you bolster up the thing. And I got to like him. I'm quite a bit older than him. But I got to like him as a young man that seemed to have energy and enterprise. So when you like a guy and you're his friend, you have a propensity towards loyalty if you're a good man. And I felt a good deal of loyalty to him. When I saw him accused, I recognized something very interesting in the dynamic of our society, which is as soon as a person is accused of such a crime as this, a foul deed such as rape or sexual misconduct, the minute they're accused, their reputation is ruined, even without a trial. They're just presumed to be guilty. Maybe he's guilty, maybe he's innocent. But I felt that a man should not be immediately destroyed without a trial.
Due process.
And I agree.
You know what I think should be done really in society? I think this would solve it. You know how they generally shield the name of the victim I think they should shield the name of the accused until there's a disposition.
You know what, Frank? On that note, just and I've been around the block a little bit. I've been in my trouble. I've been in whatever. But if you hide the name of the accused and he keeps doing the same thing over and over again, who's at loss? You understand where I'm going with that? I know it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of thing.
Well, that's the opposite, right? That's the opposite argument.
Right.
There's no simple solution. Rape is a terrible crime, and it's also probably the crime with the most injustice attached to it. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is that studies have suggested that 60% of the women who are raped never report it. They never report it. That means that 60% of the rapists are never even charged. Then you got, when they are charged, a lot of times guilty guys get off. So you got maybe 70 or 80% of guilty rapists that do not get punished. Conversely, studies have suggested that about 8% of people who are accused of rape were actually false accusations, which is about double other felonies. So with 80% of the true rapists getting off and 8% of people who are wrongly accused, you've got this whale of injustice that's going on with so many victims.
Frank, do you think, and again, I see exactly where you're going with this. However, on our half, because you haven't kind of been involved since the get-go, it's not just one girl, Frank. It's not just, and there's a couple of, women, that, are making accusations against him that if I said their names to you right now, you'd be like, son of a bitch, tell her to message me. A couple of people, in Niagara Falls that, are prominent, that you would never think. Well, why would they lie? This isn't about money. This isn't about slandering Nick D'Angelo. I told you, I think in the text message, I could give two fucks whether Nick D'Angelo likes me or anybody else really. What I do care about, and I'm sure you do also, is that he is using his position as a lawyer, which is a trusted position, where people trust him to do what's best for them, to try and get laid. Have I, not, presented myself as an officer in the Navy? Of course I did when I was young. I'm going to OCS, blah, blah, blah. I was in Pensacola. You know what? It worked a bunch of times, where girls were thinking, oh my gosh, let's go sleep with the officer. Totally different here when you are trusting them to get you out of trouble or win your case. Or you understand where I'm going with this, Frank?
Well, I absolutely do. There's a big distinction between pretending you're a Navy officer, as long as you're not pretending you're a Navy officer to a whack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
Then you're just doing puffery, I guess. And if you're a lawyer and you've got a position of authority and some control, I don't think that's advisable. In fact, the Bar Association strongly advises lawyers never to have sex with their clients. It's not disbarable per se, only if they use it as a manipulative way.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, I seen a text, brother, that he said, for better representation, why don't you meet me in my office? Frank, he wrote it in a text. This is going to come out. I've seen it, to a girl. That right there is damning to me. That right there is saying, what if my daughter, didn't know that this guy was a perverted fuck, and he went in and played mind games with a girl that is, how can I say it, without offending everybody, maybe on a lesser keel, mentally wise, or struggling, or going through some shit that they don't believe, Frank, that well, if I don't fuck this lawyer, I'm going to lose my case.
Well, that's such a grievance that even if it's not a criminal offense, it's a disbarable offense. If an attorney regularly and consistently does this type of thing. Now, you guys have been on this story. You broke the story. You know it much better, perhaps, than I do, because you've actually talked to some other people. I'm only relying on the evidence that I have And at this point, you said a minute ago something like I would say, text me these various women. I say it again, text me, call me. If there are other people out there, I need to know this because I won't defend improper behavior.
Frank, so again, repeat that one more time. So let's say someone reaches out to you and they're giving you some information that is damning to Nick, Frank. Are you a stand-up dude that is going to say, you know what, fuck Nick, I'm sorry that I decided that I was going to back him, but he is just another person that is using these women to get laid, and his position as a lawyer, I guess that's what's getting me. You know what, I could give two fucks about Nick, but maybe he deserves to be disbarred. Maybe he is that, type of, I don't know, predator, that is, using any way he can, to get laid. Again, I'm not going to talk about what happened back in, high school or anything like that, because all of that is, while it's not pertinent to today's story, it leads me back to saying, well, maybe. You following me?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. So you asked me if I'd be a stand-up guy. Here would be my definition of stand-up in a matter like this. As long as there was doubt, I would stand up for my friend. If, however, I was able to determine that my friend wasn't honest with me, or that he was a sexual predator, and I am not saying Nick is, because I don't know that he is at this point as we stand here and talk here. But if I did, I would be a stand-up guy by, as I said in my first story, I would nail him. I would not allow a friend of mine to lie to me, because then he wouldn't be a friend. However, I have not seen the unequivocal evidence of that. If you have, you obviously have the right to say and broadcast what you think is right, and I have to do the same thing. I'm still open, however, to getting any information that will inform me to help me reach the truth.
And I guess, no matter what, we're kind of beating, maybe a little bit of a dead horse, because I'm just like you, where, like I said, if I'm loyal to my friends, as a matter of fact, there are tons of my brother, I'll use him, my brother. I'm loyal to my brother, not just because he's my brother, but I love him. And you know what? If he does something wrong, the bond that we have is we'll take care of it when nobody's watching, or, if it's something that is that bad, I guess maybe I can't use my brother, because everybody would say, well, look at him, the racist bastard, and he's talking about his brother and blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, I've been called a racist more times in the last few weeks than anything because of him, even though he's not out, looking for, white lives matters or anything like that shit. And again, that's a whole other story, but I'm sure you heard about it.
Frank, can I cut in here? We've got a number of comments, and rather than going through them, one thing I wanted to kind of express was an invitation to you that I think there's a lot of people that are like, one good question just came up from Kelly Tucker. I'm going to pose that to you in a minute, but we would like to have you in the studio so you could take calls and in a civilized way answer what a lot of people are asking us. If you go back, you can go through the comments, but it would really behoove all of us for you to be in the studio with us and be able to take some of these questions. One of the questions that just came up from Kelly was, what do you think of the text messages you've seen?
Was that a question for me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. She had just asked, and I think it was aimed right at you. What do you think of the text messages? There it is. What does he think of the text messages
that I've seen so far?
Right.
Well, that's a good question. I would say that I've looked at a number of text messages. I have not seen any that actually say that he raped a woman or sexually molested a woman. To be completely fair and candid, some of the text messages seemed like if these were true attorney-client texts, they seem to be problematic. I'm not a judge of whether that's something that's grievable with the Bar Association if there were complaints. They didn't, for my part, maybe you guys have a better understanding of it. It didn't strike me as so much criminal, but possibly improper. If in the role of the lawyer-client situation.
I guess, again, I see where you're coming from this, and it took me a little while to understand, do I think that he's out there, physically beating women down and raping them? No. But I believe that he is out there mentally, abusing these women, using his power, no matter, and maybe it's not physical rape, Frank, but I'm sure there are some people out there that are able to use their influence, their power, in order to scare people, in order to and make them do. Fear is a great motivator, Frank. You know this, into doing something that they wouldn't normally do with that person. And I guess again, you're kind of making me see a little bit of a different how. I've never once said, that he was out there raping girls. I accused him of being a sexual predator and using his, influence to get laid. Let's face it, there's no doubt in my mind that is being done. Again, I'm kind of dancing around now. I want to give you a name of someone that you could speak to. I want to do it so bad. I just, everybody's saying don't do it.
Let me pose something to Frank that would bring this. There's a lot of good questions coming up too, and I don't want to keep repeating those. Frank, what do you hope to achieve if you do here? As soon as this broke, you started an investigative series. What does examining this in the court of the reporter achieve, as opposed to, say, the legal system and letting it run through there? What will you accomplish either way? If you reveal something either way, are you really going to reveal it, or all you're going to do is prolong until we see the end result? Like, what is your intention and hope from this?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you. Initially, I thought that writing a few stories might open up us two things. One, to possibly give the presumption of innocence to the accused. And what I mean by that is that I think everyone deserves that, whether you're my friend or you're my worst enemy. I think that we have to follow due process, and I think presumption of innocence is one of the cornerstones of that. So at first I thought, well, let's get out a little bit more than just the one side of the story. Let's get both sides out. Now, after a couple of stories, I think it's time to scale it back. I personally don't want to write any more stories unless there's a new development. Something breaks in the case, somebody comes to me, there's some new evidence, it gets settled, it goes to court. I don't think there's much value in continuing to inflame it.
Right. But and I ask this question because it seems like the tone of a lot of the comments is like, and forgive me because no one's asked this right out, but if you read them, it kind of gives you the feeling of, who does Frank think he is? And what people are asking is, so what do you mean by bringing the evidence to you? Are you a court of law? Are you an adjudicator? Are you some form of law enforcement? What positions you in a position to have evidence presented? What is the outcome of that?
I guess what they're saying by that, Frank, if I can interject, is, again, it goes back to, if they give evidence to you, are you going to run right back in messages on here, again, saying, and give that information to Nick so that he knows a little better of who saying what's going on, who, where, why, and so he's better prepared?
No, absolutely not. The answer to the first half of the question, as I understand it, I'm not a court of law, I'm not an arbiter, but I am an investigative reporter, and I feel as that I have a right to present information to the public. And very often I find that when we present information to the public, it works parallel with law enforcement. It either exonerates or it inculpates the person in question. So, yes, I feel I have the absolute right to look at information. If there is felonious conduct, I pass it on to law enforcement if it isn't there already.
And there are some that may believe you have an obligation because of your proximity to what's happened.
Right, I agree.
Oh, I would absolutely. If I had evidence of a rape, an actual rape committed by Nick or anyone, and I do not have that evidence, I would immediately forward it, as I did in the Ranieri case. I would encourage and even escort victims to law enforcement. And I don't care if it's Nick or anyone, I would do that. I'm not shielding.
Frank, someone is asking on here, and it's a good point. Because Nick is your friend, are you able to look at it from the other side, from
objective?
Like I was telling you, from Nick's side, their side, and then really what is the truth. I don't believe everybody tells 100% of the truth all the time, no matter what.
I agree. I think it's maybe someone told the truth their whole life and never told a lie. I don't think I've met that person.
Right.
Good point.
And I would say Peter. I would say the best shot we got here is Peter. Having done that, never told a lie.
Yeah. So, anyways, Frank, can you put yourself in the victim's I guess place because Nick is your friend? Does that affect your judgment?
Well, no. Yes and no. When I wrote my original investigative piece, I put right at the top that I have a conflict. That is, he was the managing editor of the Reporter. I disclosed that because you can infer some bias. However, to answer your question, my bias stops when a person does something that is cruel, it is abusive, it is illegal. I'm not talking about if the guy smoked a joint, but if they commit the crimes that you gentlemen are suggesting that Nick did commit, then I wouldn't shield that, and I have a natural sympathy for victims. However, Nick has said to me that he's absolutely innocent, and he's done it in a persuasive way. And I need evidence now to lose my presumption of innocence for him.
And that makes sense, I guess. And maybe we're just going to have to leave it at that and see how this how this really plays out. Noelle is on here and of course commenting on her, said she's told you some stuff and she'd love to tell you more, but she's not allowed. I think what it boils down to is everybody is worried about saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, except for me. I don't give a fuck. I think, again, I really don't want to talk about Nick. I've wasted enough of my time. I think, in my personal opinion, just because of the way he acts, his demeanor, and the things that he's done, what I know already, I think he's kind of like a Bruce Jenner, to a real man. And the only reason why I'm saying that is I know he probably is going to listen to this. And when you are telling people that you have a better reach, do you know who I am? This is how things are going to go, and then pandering for attention at any chance you can. To me, that's less of a man. I appreciate you talking to us. I look forward to meeting you, to saying what's up. Maybe really having that beer and you sitting on the show here and us shooting the shit a little bit more. Peter, you got anything else?
Yeah, Frank. I do want to reiterate that invitation because we've got a sort of a cross section of people who are very passionate. I mean, obviously there are some people who are just want to fight this out in the media. Some of them who are closely involved, and I'm opposed to that as well. I don't think we should be arguing this whatsoever. Lawyers are telling people, don't say anything, stop engaging, because you're compromising the legal potential here. But at the same time, if you were to come in, say next Monday night, or at some point, we could open the phone lines and people can listen and ask questions of you one-to-one. But again, we would maintain a civility there because, well, I see the passion of people, but I believe we have to listen openly to everyone. And Frank, are you aware that Nick uses multiple Facebook accounts?
He knows. He admitted he knew on on the message. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry to answer for you.
Well, thank you, Brett. You know, you'd be a great. You'd be a great spokesman for me. You know, I've seen the allegations that he used a fake thing the other night. I went on your platform, and I spent, I think, 3 hours, communicating with people. Some of them were a little bit unhappy. But I tried to respond to everyone that asked any kind of reasonable question. And then I was told that after I signed out, someone named Regina, purportedly a black woman, came on the Facebook and started attacking Noel.
Hugely.
And I saw a couple of the screenshots. Nick told me that it was absolutely not him. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I should have answered this quicker. I don't know if he does that.
Well, it just triggered a lot of responses here. So these are the kind of things that would be good questions if people want to pose them to you.
Or if you were on our page, so you could read, the questions and
you can check those afterwards.
That's going on. A lot of people are mad, for things that have happened, maybe, years ago, and Frank Parlato this or Frank Parlato that. Unfortunately, if everybody likes you, you're not doing your job, right?
I think that's a truism, and I don't want to be held. I change, you change, we all change. I hope I'm getting better, maybe not, but I don't want to be held to views I had years ago. I want to be held to the views I have today.
Right.
And I want to be judged for who I am today. And today, as I stand here, Peter and Brett, I don't intend to continue to write about this unless there's some development. Number two, I believe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I thought you were done, so I was just going to interact real quick and say that I think that there may be a chance that somebody is going to reach out to you because of this, Frank. So and I hope that you stick to your word and say, hey, even if it's, how can I say it? Even if it's not, something that is totally against the law, it's just not right, Frank.
Well, let me assure you, anyone who's listening, of one thing. The number one duty of a journalist is to protect his sources. And I would never disclose my sources. I wouldn't do it for a court of law. I mean, I'm not going to run and I'm not helping Nick's case. I'm not working with his lawyers. I'm not involved in his defense. That's his. What I'm, as a journalist, would never do is betray a source. So if they came to me, I'm not sharing that information. It's absolutely wrong. If anybody thinks that I would be trying to use surreptitious methods to just act as a person who's looking to get information to use for the defense.
All right, so I'm going to just hit on one more thing because I kind of cut you off before you were able to answer the question. Do you honestly believe, Frank, because we're getting lots of chatter on this, that Nick did not or does not use fictitious accounts to under his name or not under his name?
I tell you, I honestly don't know. I mean, I didn't even know about fictitious accounts until this Regina thing came up. I'm not much of a Facebook guy. I just got into Facebook now because I'm handling it for the Reporter.
And by the way, thank you for unblocking us.
Yes, and thank you for unblocking me too, right. Even though I don't write stupid shit on there, he still, I guess it just makes sense to block me.
I don't want to block any human being. I would let anybody comment. I would just ask if they be respectful, just civility. Don't come into my house, and I consider like your Facebook page, in a sense, your house. Don't come into my house and just start insulting me. Talk, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where you think I've made a mistake. But can you do it in a polite way?
I have to admit that you handled yourself like a man, on our page, over and over again. Like you said, it kind of got a little bit heated, and people. That's why I said I don't know how this got turned on to you, because guilty by association. Unfortunately, you know how that goes. I'm a biro, so guilty by association because of my brother. Anyways. Again, I want to say thanks for taking this time,
Yes.
to talk to us. I appreciate it. And you know what? It made me feel a little bit better. I don't know about anybody that's listening.
Well, thank you, Brett. Peter, may I say one more thing? I just want to reiterate, because it's very important to me. When you play the Ellie Reeve clip, I stand by this, and I challenge anybody to find a case where I ever knowingly reported an untruth.
Okay.
And what I meant to her, and we filmed for a whole day. I had no control over how they cut this thing.
No.
When I wrote any story that was meant as a lampoon, I wrote that it was fiction. This is a fictional story. Never would I ever publish a story about Keith Raniere or anybody that was deliberately fabricated where I intended my readers to believe it was the truth.
Okay, and that's fair. That's why we talk like this, is because it gives you an opportunity to refute or to better explain something. And as I was saying, the image it comes across that these were fabricated stories, and if you're looking for people to kind of take the credibility of the stories you're writing now, they can question based on what you've said in the past. But now that allows us to understand that from your point of view and from your explanation is that you have always identified your story. So if we go back and look, or in an old issue of the Reporter, then obviously we'll see that that you were acknowledging it was a lampoon, it was a satire, or whatever.
Right, and I was referring in this particular instance to the Frank Report and a series of ridiculous stories that exaggerate, caricature the leaders of this cult, made them look ridiculous. But I put at the top, fiction. I also did some photoshopping, and you guys would know about that.
Just a little.
Only with you in mind.
So I did some photoshopping that made him look, ridiculous. But again, they were clearly photoshopped images. And in fact, most of the times I put, this is not a real photograph. But you could tell it wasn't. It had, a man's body on a horse's ass, for example. Obviously these are lampoons. I think people know in the newspapers when there's a cartoon lampooning a politician, they know that's not the real picture.
Right. But in the context that we saw it, it was a question raised by someone near me who had looked at it, and I agreed with the context, with what we saw. It was stated a certain way, but you've clarified that, and that's good.
This makes me like Noelle even a little bit more. I got
Noelle?
to just chime in. Yes, Noelle.
Oh.
She said, "Sorry, Frank, I can get a little bit ghetto sometimes, but that's what happens when a rapist lies." That was an apology to you, and that's why I like Noelle.
Could I throw out one last idea?
Sure.
And I don't want to intrude into time. If I've run out of time, just tell me. But one last thought. I have a suspicion that Noelle's a good person. And I've always thought of Nick as a good person. And this may make people angry. Is it possible that maybe they misunderstood each other?
No.
Not just Noelle, Frank.
That's what I mean, yeah.
It's not just Noelle.
Well, okay. Thanks for answering.
And again, that probably means nothing to you, but if it was just Noelle, maybe I would say, yeah. I agree with you. I think maybe someone got their feelings hurt or whatever. But I even seen text messages from Nick to Noelle. Leave your boyfriend at home. And again, I know this means, maybe it's, unethical for a lawyer, but I just think that it's mind games being played by a lawyer to coerce a girl into having sex with him. And then, we didn't even get into the whole herpes thing or whatever. I just don't get it.
You told me not to.
I know. I wasn't. But Noelle was, freely on there, said they portrayed her as a lying herpes whore.
Are there such things?
Well, I hope I don't meet one.
All right. Well, Frank, I personally, we've exchanged discussions on in areas of journalism and other things. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on with us tonight. And there are people who are very passionate. Make sure you read the comments if you get an opportunity. I promise there's no doggy do in there. But
and someone quoted Frank, and again, I know that there are at least, Frank, 10, more than 10, women that have come forward with emails saying this or saying that, and I'm sure that not all of them are misunderstandings, if you understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah, I think that if that is true, and I'm not saying that you are not telling me the truth, of course. I'm just saying I haven't had a chance to assess that. But if that is true, that is clearly, problematic. I agree.
Good. All right, so we will be in contact and try to get you in here on the show, hopefully soon, because it made for a good chatter. And listen, if anything, this doesn't hurt you. This doesn't hurt Noelle. This doesn't hurt Nick. For what we're doing is just saying, hey, you know what? We demand the truth. Why? Because everybody deserves it, Frank. And I know that's used to be, or not used to be. Maybe it still is. I don't know. I throw out a lot of things about pay for play and blah, blah, blah. Times have changed. 20 years ago, has the reporter been around that long?
Just about. But
yeah.
All right. So when you guys first came out, Frank, and you know this, everybody loved the reporter. You know why? Because you didn't take any shit. All of you guys that were writing stories were putting out the truth, and what it was doing was hurting everybody's feelings. Maybe if I could say anything, that has any relevance to this whole story, is one thing I'm not going to do is take any shit, and I'm not going to lie to people. You know why? Because everybody deserves the truth.
Well, I think that's beautiful. Why don't you come on board with the reporter and give some of your in-your-face reporting?
You know what? That's funny that we have talked about this. We kind of joked around about this before anything had come aboard. About maybe me and Peter writing an article, or maybe Peter jumping on board with the reporter. But we were joking about it. When the whole thing went on with Nick, and that we maybe could. And again, I don't want to say that the reporter is boring or that you've lost your edge or anything like that. I just want to say, that maybe I'm not so inclined to right now to take any advertising money or do anything like that, so that I'm not beholden to anybody, Frank. And I think that you're the same way. Do I think maybe unfortunately we're at a time where everybody has to pay to get to the front page or the top bar, the bottom bar. Am I making sense to you? It's not something that now you're just going to say, hey, I have 20,000 followers and we put out 50,000 papers. Why would I give you something for free? Am I making sense?
I think you are. Yeah, I think the only thing we really have at the end of the day is that we write what we believe is true, and if we find out that it wasn't true, we admit it, we correct, we clarify. That's all we got.
I guess that's the bottom line. You're right. I think that unfortunately, and this is just my opinion, that soon maybe you'll be saying, "Hey, you guys were right, and I was wrong, and I apologize." Blah blah blah. Not even that you owe anybody an apology, because Nick is your friend. Unfortunately, maybe there's better people to have in your circle, and that's just my opinion.
Well, if I am proven to be wrong, I will definitely. I won't apologize. I won't clarify. I'll write the story. I'll write the story. Right now, my only stance is that he deserves a presumption of innocence until such time as he is proven guilty, whether that's civil or criminal, and that I don't know the truth.
And
He
Frank,
tells me
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that includes not victim shaming and attacking those who are presenting the plaintiff's role in this case. And that seems to be what's happened, is that that Noel and others have been put down because of that they have initiated the case as if they had no right to do so and as if they were committing a crime themselves.
I want to clear one thing up real quick, Frank. And Becky Chappell Marchetti is a friend of mine, and the whole thing that was going on with Rick Krogan and blah blah blah. I took a big part in that, and I was vocal. With when all that stuff was going on too. It was proven that we were right. And you know what? Becky is on our page right now. She said she never got an apology from you, Frank.
Well, I remember Rick Krogan was charged with something, right? Well, and Becky,
Becky is the one that brought it to light, and everybody was shaming her. In the reporter, you guys took Krogan's side hugely. And then when it came out that hey, Rick was pocketing some cash. Becky never got an apology from you, and I guess what I'm trying to do is say, hey, Frank, she's right, and at that time we were right that Rick was, using, his, bail of bonds or whatever that thing was, and pocketing money, portraying himself as a not-for-profit. Am I ringing a bell?
Yes. Was he convicted?
Yes, he was convicted.
Yes.
Well, and for the things that Becky accused him of doing.
Yes.
Well, I'll be happy to revisit it. Becky wants to, we do a lot of stories, and I don't recall every one that we've done. But if Becky wants to be interviewed, I will happily give her a vindication.
That's awesome, bro, and that means even a lot to me. And she's saying thank you, Brett, on here now. I think, Frank, if you go and revisit this and you look back into this, you're going to say, wow, damn, Becky was right. Unfortunately, again, I know Rick Krogan was involved with the reporter at the time, and that's how my name got thrown up. And
he really wasn't, Brett. He was. I rightly or wrongly, I thought maybe he was overcharged or victimized, and maybe I was wrong. And I would be happy to interview Becky and revisit this to show what really happened, or how sometimes things look one way and they wind up being another.
That happens, Frank. You know that happens all the time, Frank. You know that, and I know that. So I think that what I am going to do is try and remind you, or see if Becky, or maybe we can get something going. Because I'd love to see this, because I still haven't forgot about all the trash talking Rick was doing about me. Again, everybody hates when you call them out on something, especially when it's hurtful. You know that.
Yes, except for thick-skinned guys like you and Peter and I.
Exactly. You know what? And that's because we have kind of taken that role where, hey, if I'm going to say it, how's that saying go? If you're going to talk, make sure you can walk the walk.
I think that's true. If you can dish it out, right? You got to be able to take it. Yep. And I find it amusing. Actually, a lot of times I'm glad I'm attacked, because it signifies that I'm doing something right, and it also sometimes gives me an opportunity to learn something and correct myself.
Perfect. That's a good way to look at it. I'm going to reach out to Becky, or maybe Frank, you can reach out to Becky. Let's set something up. I think once you go back and you look at this, you're going to say, "Holy shit!" How did I not say? Maybe I was wrong. It's sometimes it's hard to say you're wrong, especially when you take a huge stance against something, and it's a man thing.
Well, I'll admit I'm wrong when I'm wrong. I need evidence, but yes.
Perfect. Then let's. Peter, you got anything else?
Nope. I'm all set.
All right, so I'm hoping to get you in studio, and sit with us and do this again, Frank, soon, so that we can, I don't know. I think It would do you some good, and the reporter. It would do us some good. A lot of people paid attention to our show tonight. We had tons of comments. I think everybody likes talking about this. And another thing is, we shoot straight from the hip. There's no beating around the bush. There's no, a lot of people are saying, be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. I don't think you have to, and I don't think we have to. And on that note, you'll be hearing from us. I sent you a friend request.
I'm going to accept that for sure. And I wanted to be in your studio with you guys, shoulder to shoulder, and let's talk about anything. Okay?
Beautiful. I look forward to it, brother.
Me.
Thanks, Frank.
Yep. Cheers.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
You
brother.
take care.
Yep, later.
All right, Brett, we're signing out. Thank you, Frank, for being on with us. I'll play that last video, and we'll be back on next week. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Make sure you share our page and let's talk about it. And there's no reason why we should still have only 3,500 likes on our page. You guys aren't doing us as good a service as we're doing you.
There you go.
Share our shit. Invite your friends, and let's blow this shit up. We're ready. We are ready to blow this shit up. Why? Just like Peter posted. You demand the truth, and we're gonna bring it to you. You can bet your sweet ass on that.
All right. Good night, everyone.
So, couldn't Nexium say you're just a disgruntled employee with an axe to grind?
Not only could they say it, but they did say that.
And are they right?
Well, disgruntled, no. Ex-employee, yes. Axe, yes, a punishing axe. I sharpened my axe.
Okay.
Parlato turned on Nexium with the fury it had hired him to use against its enemies. He carpet-bombed Raniere and Nexium with attacks on his website. He also deployed the two other publications he co-owns, Art Voice and the Niagara Falls Reporter, a tabloid he'd used in the past to wage war against the popular Niagara Falls boat tour.
Part of my strategy was to mock Raniere. I photoshopped images of him. I wrote fictional stories about him just to make him look ridiculous, because sometimes that's necessary too.